in. Apologies. No Jen tonight, but it's okay. That's who we're missing as well. Right. So I have to say the lights are up, but we don't have them up for Yin. Quite nice. Anyway, see what I'm doing tonight. Welcome. Tonight's practice is building on what we did last week. I'm going to unpick some warrior poses tonight because last week we went straight through flow. We're going to do that tonight, but we're going to just look at a few things. I have a challenge. It has an alternative to it, so don't kill anybody who's got any issues with knees or hips or anything like that. But there is a infinity flow that we're going to have a play with tonight, not circular flow, because steering away from those at the moment. So that's us. So welcome. And we're going to start in seated. If you've got a blanket, or a cushion, do get yourself comfy and just sit. It's so much easier to be able to sit upright if your pelvis is just slightly tilted. And as always, if there's something you're not keen on doing, just skip it and take a child's pose. So welcome. So just finding that comfy seat. Just finding that very gentle breath. And there is a wonderful essential oil smell in the room. It's beautiful. It's not me, but thank you. And just allow your spine to lengthen. Allow your shoulders to relax. Let the day just float away. Bring yourself to the present moment on the mat. Just allowing that breath to rise and fall. I'm just going to take the hands together and connect just the heels of the hands. I'm going to draw them all the way up on an inhale. We're going to exhale, draw the elbows just gently behind us. Chin gently down. Inhale, lift. Gaze is where it's comfy. It might be to thumbs. Exhale, drop them just gently. Inhale, lift. Exhale all the way down. Left hand to one side as we draw the right hand over. Inhaling as we move towards the center. Exhaling, moving to the other side. Patchouli, geranium, maybe smelling things. Inhale back to center. Just back and forwards flowing. Bring a little bit of a movement if you want to bring this forwards, do. So make the movement suit how you're feeling tonight. Even if you're just pausing, just allowing a stretch. And if you find there's any areas of tension, maybe inhaling and moving that breath and that kind of awareness to that part of the body. Gently bringing the hands back to the knees when you're ready. Taking a moment just to bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears, no rush, just when you get there. Allowing yourself to drop the shoulder blades down. And then just take a gentle circle with the neck. Back and forwards. And then coming forwards. Now, if you've got, in fact, if you haven't, what is lovely, just when we're in cat-cow, take the time just to use your blanket to soften the mat. There's no point having these on a hard mat. There is a point to having a really nice hard surface with the mat when we're using balances, but just use your blanket to soften. And here you can just take that cat-cow. Now, if you go deeply into this, you can use your toes to tuck, or you can just experiment how that feels different for you. Some folks might not want to stretch as much, so just gently taking movement here, whatever you feel comfortable with in your body. Maybe that's big circling. Maybe it's pausing. Taking weight out the wrists. Maybe you've got your hands, just spider hands. And when you're ready, come back to that stack back position. We're going to come to threading the needle, as it were. But what we're going to do, instead of taking that back leg back, we're going to take it out to the side. Now, if it doesn't suit your hip, you can still obviously take that back leg back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to extend the arm out to the side. I'm going to thread, bringing my shoulder towards the ground, and then see what it feels like to stretch the foot out, pushing through the heel, maybe even getting the side of the foot on the earth. If it's not comfy, adjust. The more you draw your toes towards you, the more of a stretch you're going to get down the back of the leg. Breathing into this stretch. Bringing yourself all the way back up to flat back. Swapping sides. So extending the opposite arm, allowing it to float under, bringing that shoulder down towards the ground. Get your balance before you then take that foot out to the side and push into the side of the foot. If you can, if your body allows, if not, just point flex. Bring those toes towards you and see if you can feel that stretch all the way up the back of the leg. If it's uncomfortable, you just adjust it so you're comfortable. All the way back to center. Take a moment, walk your hands towards you, bring yourself up, little toe stretch if you want to at the back. And we're going to get into a little flow and warm up. A little bit of last week, a little bit of everything really. To get to the flow, we're actually going to come into downward facing dog first. So I'm going to try also tonight an unpick flat back. It's one of those poses that sometimes we kind of think, why are we doing this? What's the purpose? Is it just a pose in between things? And nothing in yoga is a pose in between things. So we're going to do that as we go. So we're going to do this slowly first, and then we're going to go through a nice flow to warm us up. So we're going to walk to downward facing dog. So when you get into downward facing dog, take a pedal of the feet. Think about really clawing those fingers into the mat. Think about the arms just moving, pushing towards each other, engaging the belly in, and then engaging and lifting it slightly towards the heart. So you've got a scoop in the lift. Bend the knees, allow the hips just to push a little higher. Allow length into the back of the legs. And what I want you to do is just push away gently
So you're pushing your chest very gently towards the thigh, not so your shoulders are going to hurt. And then relax the back of the head. Allow yourself to take a breath here. And we're going to walk the hands all the way to the back of the mat. And bring your feet hip distance apart. Take a moment here with the hands to the elbows, just allowing dangling. If you need to bend the knees slightly, just do. Allow the back of the neck to lengthen. The crown of the head just towards the floor. Bringing the hands gently back down to the mat. We're going to take flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. So we're going to bring hands to the shin. What we're going to do, we're going to look forwards just gently to about 1 meter away from you. Now what I want you to do is feel a little bit of length. You can always soften the knees if you need to. Feel a little length in the back between the base of the spine and the crown of the head. And I want you to zip gently the core. So gently draw the core in and then scoop up a little to your heart. Excellent. We fold back to Uttanasana. Now to rise, what I want you to do again is to push into the soles of the feet, soften the knees, scoop the core gently in and up. As we bring the hands to the hips, I want you to draw the elbows gently together. So they're going towards each other a little. Look towards the front of the mat, push into the feet and lift up. So you should have felt the shoulder blades engage a bit more. Inhale all the way, sweeping all the way up. Exhale to the heart. Take the hands gently to the side, Tadasana, and allow yourself a moment, a pause. And it's these pauses in our practice that allow us just to work out how we're feeling, just observing the energy. Inhale, we're going to sweep all the way up. Exhale, soften the knees, engage that core into a fold. Any lower back issues, just bend the knees, soften this out. Allow the head to relax. Ardha Uttanasana, bring the hands to the shins, look gently forwards. See if you can feel that engagement of the core, length. If it's uncomfortable, soften the knees. And then fold again, bend the knees as much as you need. If you need to really bring the belly right to the thighs, do. But as we lift up, we're going to draw the hands to the hips, draw the elbows back, shoulder blades together, and gently push all the way up. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. We're going to walk the hands all the way forwards into plank. High plank. Lovely long gaze to the front of the mat. Shoulders underneath, hands underneath the shoulders. I was doing so well until that point. Push into the heels and lift that front body up. So don't dump any weight into this. The chest shouldn't be slumping. Push all the way up. You can take a vinyasa here, coming to low plank or chaturanga dandasana, or you can come to cobra or up dog, wherever you feel comfortable. Rolling over, meeting in downward facing dog, kicking the radiator. I know. I'm going to step to the front of the mat now, into Uttanasana again. Take a moment in forward fold. Take the feet just a little wider, point the toes out, take the hands together, coming into an active squat. Now, if your knees are not so good with this, bring it up higher. Take the stance wider, so it's softer. So you're coming actually to a seat, more of a seated squat. So it's really up to you where you are. Really think about pushing all four corners of your foot. We do have corners to our feet into the mat. And then fold. Bring the feet back underneath you and either step or hop to plank. Now, you can always come to forearms here if you're not so keen on the wrist, but we're going to roll between downward facing dog. So bend the knees, lift the hips up to downward facing dog. Come forwards all the way back to high plank. Bend the knees, lift the hips, come all the way back up to downward facing dog. Roll all the way back over, all the way into plank. If you're really wanting a little bit of heat, drop down to forearm plank. You can draw one knuckle gently inside the other. Always bring your knees down as well if it's a bit tricky for you. Just softening. Taking a moment here. It would be rude not to come all the way down to the mat. Just take a moment. You can, if you don't want to be on your front totally, so you can come down to Sphinx. If you don't want to be totally on your front, you can come up to Seal. So if you've just had dinner and you're like, I have a food baby. I left my lot with sausages and mashed potato tonight, and the smell was just divine. Oh, I was like, oh no, I'm leaving. I can't eat that yet. So you can come into Seal, or if it's just not so much, you can just come back to that position. Wherever you are, take whatever suits you. And then push all the way back up, either all fours if you want to take a moment, or downward facing dog. Walking the hands, we're only there momentarily, to the back of the mat, Uttanasana. Inhale, let's come to Ardha Uttanasana. So you should feel that core engage, helping you lengthen, protecting the lower back. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, now push through the feet. You can swan dive up, or hands can come to the hips, shoulders in, elbows together, drawing yourself all the way back. Inhale, lift. Exhale, we're going to walk to plank. Take a moment here in plank. Let's lift all the way to downward facing dog. Anchor the left foot, lift to the right to tripod. And step it all the way through to a little lizard lunge out the outside edge of the foot. You can stay here if you just want. Soften the knee if you would like, just working here, or you can take it into a twist. If you're not keen on twists, then just stay and enjoy just that kind of power of the lunge. Taking a moment here. Bring the hands all the way back to the mat. Either come to child's pose with nice wide legs, toes together, or vinyasa. So we come to a low plank. Either come to little cobra if you wish. I did a half move there. I wasn't quite sure that was what I was going to do. And then up to downward facing dog. My mind said that I was doing cobra. My body said I was doing up dog. Anchor the right foot, lift the left. Take a moment here. Draw that left foot forwards into a lizard lunge. And either take a moment here, soften the pose with the knee down, or lift into a twist. Very much wherever you want to be. Connecting with that breath. Taking a moment. And then another little vinyasa to come to plank. You might want to bring knees down. You can take a little low cobra if you wish. And then push to downward facing dog. Lots of different options. Bringing yourself all the way to the top of the mat when you are ready into a forward fold. Inhale, flat back, hands to the shins, gaze as forwards. Exhale, hands to the hips. Bring the elbows towards each other, engage the shoulder blades, and inhale all the way up. Take a moment in mountain. Take water, layers, anything you need just to settle yourself, get comfy.
And then we're just going to, we're actually warm. It's a good point, actually. Right, we're going to look at warrior one, because while we're warm, we can then warm up again. So warrior one, there's lots and lots going on in warrior one. And what I want to do is make sure that you are comfy in Virabhadrasana 1, so that you don't have any lower back pain, any knee pain, and that the pose suits you. So we're going to deconstruct it a bit. So what we're going to do is we could go from warrior, but we're standing up, so it's fine. So from downward dog. So we're just going to step into a warrior pose. Okay. Warrior one, just step into where you would normally go. What I want you to do is I want you to get into your normal warrior one stance. So whatever that feels like for you. Now I want you to have a think about how you feel. Okay, how's your body feeling? Are you comfy? Only you can tell. Try it on the other side. Get into warrior one on the other side. So, okay, so think about any tension points you've got. Think about anything you think is just stretching a little bit too much. It should be a powerful pose. It's a muscular pose, okay? So what we should be doing is working our legs and the hip flexors. But what we shouldn't be feeling is straining. We shouldn't be feeling anything in the lower back or anything on the hip that is uncomfortable. You might feel stretching.
I was feeling a bit in the lower back.
Okay.
My pelvis is tilted
Right,
wrong.
so we'll come back to Tadasana. Now what I want you to do, so that's really honest. So I could feel it in my lower back as well. If I wanted a real power pose, sometimes I do on a Monday nights, we do. And actually that's easier on my back, but anyway, I really want to work my legs. To work my legs, I'm going to widen that stance and I'm going to really get that thigh as parallel to the mat as I possibly can. For you, that might be great, no problem. But warrior one, front foot facing midnight, back foot where your foot is comfy. If that is turned just a little bit to the side because of your hips, that's fine. If you find, and warrior two is probably where your foot would be, a little bit further back, but you won't realize it. If you want to bring that foot slightly forwards, you can do. What I'm not asking you to do is bring the hips and square them to the mat and cause stress here. What I'm saying is soften the pose. If you've got lower back issue, then, and also knee, bring the pose, your stance shorter. Okay, so you'll be slightly higher. You'll feel a little bit. So they're the first things we're going to play with. So choose your poison. In a yoga class, that's a lovely term, isn't it? So it's all right, we've got a pharmacist with us, should be fine. With dispenser, yeah. Person with drugs. Pardon? Yeah, it's fine. So she can get you HRT one. Right, this is all on camera and record. Anyway, so don't worry about trying to square your hips forwards and twist your back or your knee. Let your body be soft, okay? Change your stance, maybe change your footing and see how you can feel, but still feel power in that pose. What I want you now to do is see if you can rip the mat in half. Can you push the foot at the front forwards? And can you push that? So you're really pushing into the soles of your feet. Okay? You can, but we're doing it slightly differently tonight. See, it achieves exactly the same thing. It achieves you pushing your feet into the mat, but I've just switched it about a bit. At the moment, I haven't done anything with the top body, but you're going to gently then raise your arms forwards. But don't worry about that hip trying to turn it forwards and then putting more stress on your back. Okay? Does that feel any different? Make sure that your knee is stacked over your ankle, whether you've shortened your stance or not. If you've got knee issues, just soften that at the front. How does that feel for folk? Any better or any different, Laura? Laura, get lower. Come on. Try. Well, try it both ways. Is it easier for you to take a wider stance? So just have a, I'm going to really muddle you up now. And by ripping the mat apart, what's happening to your knee? It's still doing what it should be doing. It's still turning the right way because you're still, what you're doing is you're pushing your heel effectively into the mat.
I think the lower I go, I start to feel things in this knee.
Okay, can you bring that knee slightly more bent at all, Laura? Your front knee, so that it's actually stacking over your hip, over your ankle. Oh, dear me, tonight. So you could probably come, that's it, a little bit deeper. All right. Now, Corey, if you bring your body a little bit more upright, that's it. How does that feel? Iona, are you comfy there? Good, excellent. Getting there? Are you okay? You're sussing it out. That's absolutely fine. If I can help, just shout. Bit better? Okay, Vicky, you're okay. Liska. Good. You've all got your hands in your air. Now, hands in the air, floating hands. Your gaze now. Remember, you've got a little bit of activation. Remember, you're still drawing the belly just gently in, scoop into the heart. And a little bit of activation. Your gaze can be forwards or it can be up. How's that on your knee there? So push your knee away from you. Well, push your feet away from you, push your foot back, and it will lock. And bend into it a bit more. Can you feel that in your legs? Oh, joy. Excellent. Okay, come to the front, shake it out. All right. So hoiking to the front, shake it out a little bit. Okay. So what I'm trying to show you is that every single yoga asana, did that hurt your back, Jenny? You sure? Okay. Every single yoga asana is for you. So traditionally, we have this, for me, it's awful, heel to instep, turn your hips forwards, wreck your back. What we're saying is, it's actually about how it feels for you. And actually, that softness, that my hip's never going to turn forwards like that. And what I'm actually really wanting is that kind of real grounding and using the muscles and not straining the hip. I also want you, when we're doing Warrior One, to lift up a little. So that kind of lifting up of the pelvis. That's why I'm scooping the belly. I'm scooping towards the heart gently. So we've got grounding and we've got that lift up. And you would see that suddenly I've gone from that pose that looked like it was just sinking slightly to the upper body. It's lifted a bit. Try it again if you want to get into your warrior. Well, let's go from downward facing dog. So downward facing dog, pedal it out. Now you can step or you can use a three-legged dog to get to the front of the mat. It doesn't matter. Always find your base pose. Tuck that back foot where you're comfy. Let yourself rise up. In this instance, maybe not even bring the hands to it just yet. Really think about pushing in, grounding, lifting, rise the hands. How does that feel? Any different, or remember to sink into that knee just a little? Now let's open to Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana, 2 on the opposite side, on the same side, sorry. I am muddling tonight. And you can always adjust that foot. So if I just heard a few feet, if your foot then feels like it's pointing and you just need to adjust it slightly to soften that hip, then do. Relax the shoulders. Ground into the feet, push into those heels, but see if you can engage the core gently. And then turn all the way around. We're going to step back to downward facing dog, through to plank. Take on the other side, so Virabhadrasana 1 on the other side. So rise up gently. So think about pushing into the heels. And to do that, we can push opposites away as well, engaging the core. So now what you should be feeling is muscle and activation, but I'm hoping that any lower back issues have just, by changing that foot, have just, or that hip position. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's deconstruct that a bit more. So take your stance maybe slightly wider. Okay, now sink into your knee. Now lift. Does that help a little? Is that less, or are you still feeling it in the lower back? You can always lift up a bit, out the pose a bit if you need. Sink into the knee, try sinking into the knee. So the knee is stacked a bit more over the ankle. So I'm sinking into the knee, I'm just moving into the knee. So I'm moving the knee forward so I can still see my toes. Okay, so sinking into the knee is just moving that knee slightly forwards. And keep that back leg straight. So you're bending your knee, that's it. How does that feel? Is that a bit better? And also widening that stance slightly that way, so you're not on a tightrope helps. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so bring it slightly over. So I've got this big line on here which kind of helps, and it's just moving that right foot over slightly, moving that left foot over. So I'm actually opening my hips up. So it's just playing, and if you're at home, just having a play with that as well. Cool, all the way back to the front of the mat. So take a moment into Tadasana. Inhale, lift. Swan dive forwards, bending, softening the knees, engaging the core, Uttanasana. Flat back, hands to the shins, take the gaze forwards if you wish. Exhale all the way down. Plant the hands, keep the right foot at the top of the mat. Step 2, warrior 1. Inhale, lift. Think about where you've just been. Push away the feet. So you're pushing the mat from the center away this time. Different way of thinking about it. Is that okay? That's it. Open to warrior 2. You might feel that back foot just adjust slightly and widen out. So we're open to the side, looking over our front hand. Reverse warrior, turn the palm, keep that real pushing away of the legs, lifting up in the body, just lift gently. And then side angle, bring the hand just gently to rest, and either bring the hand above you or bring it forwards, whatever's comfier on the shoulder. Turn forward, spin towards, we're in a runner's lunge. Take a moment here, step into a high plank. So keep the body really a lovely long line. So taking the gaze towards the front of the mat, pushing into the heels. Keep the feet kind of hip width apart. That's it. Take a vinyasa or a child's pose if you wish. So you can come to low plank, to up dog, or chaturanga, or child's pose, or so if you're in child's pose, just stay there. You can always make your way to the top of the mat. If you're in downward dog, take a breath. Either taking that right foot, anchoring and lifting the leg, or just stepping the left foot forwards, coming into warrior 1 on the other side. So just a little dancing warrior sequence here. Find a way of engaging those legs, maybe pushing away from yourself, and you still feel things engage. If you feel like you prefer pulling the mat towards you and the inner legs, it's all the same. Just alignment and engaging. And then open to warrior 2. Reverse warrior. Side angle. Take a pause here. Bring yourself to a runner's lunge. Step forwards into Uttanasana. Bring the hands gently behind you, interlace the fingers and draw the knuckles just gently above you. Allowing the head to dangle. And we're going to bring the toes and the feet together underneath us. As we do, we're going to bend the knees, sweep the hands forwards, come into Utkatasana, toes zipped. As we bring the hands down, we're going to bring the heels up. Heels down, hands up, inhale. And again, exhale, heels up. Keep the heels up, extend the legs, lift yourself all the way up. I'm doing a legs practice tonight. I do apologize for tomorrow. All the way up. Hands to the heart, bring them down. Take a moment here. Swan diving forward so we can come up and forwards into Uttanasana. If you need to give space, bring your feet just gently out again. In fact, everybody can take their toes, turn them slightly out. So we've got a wider stance, bring hands together and come into a little active squat. Softening the knees if you need to by coming up. Folding, here we go. We're going to step or hop to plank. Well done. Keeping the hips in line with the body, so bring the, that's it, and the gaze forward to the front of the mat, lovely. All the way up to downward facing dog. Anchor the left foot, bring the right foot up into a three-legged dog. You can stack the hip by opening the knee and bringing the heel across, keeping the hips fairly forward if you want to. That right foot's going to come forwards all the way, forwards to a high lunge position. So make sure you're not on a tightrope. Really plant that foot firmly at the front. Keep that back leg straight unless you've got lower back issues, and then you can bend that back knee, drawing yourself gently up into a high lunge. That will soften your back rather than a straight leg. If you haven't got any lower back issues, straighten the leg, push into the heel. Now, you have a choice here. Bring your hands to your heart. You don't have a choice about that. I don't want to kill your arms. Right, this is a choice. You can join me on the lower flow, which is going to be a pistol squat, one-legged bridge pose, pistol squat back up. It's a challenge, but if you've got any knee issues, please don't, unless you want to do it slowly. Or you can stay in your high lunge, come forwards to a one-legged stance, and then play with a figure of four. Okay, so tell you what we'll do. We'll do the figure of four first, and then we'll add in the pistol squat on the second time round. Okay, high lunge, here we go. Hands to the heart. Bring that one-legged mountain pose. Bring the ankle across, sink gently into a little figure of four. Bring yourself back to that one-legged mountain pose. Here, we're going to either take a big toe pose or take left hand to left knee and just gently support as you open up. Or if you have a big toe pose, you can bring yourself into a big toe pose, there's she wobbling. Wherever you go, doesn't matter. Hands are going to come behind us. We come to Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. Guess where we are? We're in the infinity flow. Yay! Buzz Lightyear. I know it was Vicky. Now all the way back, gently dropping that back foot, bend the knee if you need to high lunge. Drop that back heel open to the side, Warrior 2. Reverse the warrior, inhaling, lift. As we come forwards, push through the heel, we're coming to Trikonasana, to triangle. Hover that right hand, lovely. Hover that right hand. You can stay in triangle, or you can bend into the front knee, bring the right hand out to the side and lift up into a half moon if you want to, or you can stay in triangle. We then meet, bringing that back foot all the way back down. It might be there in triangle if it is, and come to the back of the mat in a high side lunge. Lift that back, the front foot if you want to. We're going to turn all the way forwards. We're going to draw ourselves into plank. You can, if you want to, take knees down and just take a moment, or you can come to a side plank, turning onto your left side, left foot stacked at the bottom. Remember, you can adjust this by bringing the left knee underneath you. So don't overstrain if you don't need to. Bring that left knee down onto the mat. That's it. And take it out to the side if you need to. That's it. It's the left knee. And then that's brilliant. Now, you might want to take this to a tree side plank. So what you're going to do, for those on the camera, I'm in the wrong angle, you might want to come up to a tree pose. Bringing an advanced little move into this if you want to, the hand over your head. You might not. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter. You might want to even step that right foot back and flip into a wild thing. You might not. You might want to come down to child's pose. Come all the way forwards, back to plank. Take the knees down. Take a little child's pose. Are we warm yet? You thought it was a lovely, quiet class. It is. It's always a lovely, quiet class. Taking a moment here. Enjoying that breath. And then walk yourself gently back to downward facing dog, lifting the hips up. Taking a moment in downward facing dog. We're going to anchor that right foot, lift the left up into tripod. It's going to move through to high lunge. So the left foot comes forwards into high lunge. Bend the back knee if you need to. Keep it straight if you don't. Taking a moment here. We're going to draw ourselves to one-legged mountain. Sinking down into little figure of four. Take the right hand to the right knee, lift up if you want. Extend this into a lovely wobbly big toe pose if you need. Or if you don't, keep that leg bent. Bring it all the way back in. Come to warrior three. Wobbling is absolutely fine. Dropping gently into high lunge. Okay. Exhaling into warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, triangle. Hover that hand. Lovely, really lovely. Half moon if you wish, by bending that left knee, coming up onto that left knee, allowing yourself to come, but stay in triangle if you're not so sure about your half moon. Your triangle is going to move all the way back, or half moon, to a high side lunge at the back of the mat, lifting the front toe.
We're going to move forwards into a plank. Come onto the right hand into the center, the right hand, bring the right knee down if you want to soften this side plank. You might want to come into a little tree pose and side plank. Turning side plank all the way. You can come to wild thing if you wanted, but I've just skipped it. Come into a little plank and take a gentle vinyasa if you would like, or come straight into child's pose. And we're all going to meet in child's pose, taking a moment. Just allow that breath. And then just coming up with hands just to the thighs, just into a high seat. Take a glass of water if you need, sip of water. So the bit that changes in the flow, if you want it to change, it doesn't have to change if you don't want. So the bit where we come from high lunge to that one-legged mountain, to the figure of four, back to the high lunge. We can go off piste here, so we can have like, it's like music, you know, when you're singing in rounds and you like, we'll start off in different places, so we can do that. So I'll give you the options and you can choose what you'd like to have a go at. So we're going to start, if you're fed up with downward facing dogs and just want to just take a moment, you can start in stacked back, or you can come up into downward facing dog. It doesn't matter. The right foot is going to end up at the front of the mat in high lunge. So however you get from either your stacked back to the front, we're coming into a high lunge. So now, when we get here, your choice is either come forwards into one-legged mountain or Tadasana, or bring the hands down, tweak the left foot through, and come into little pistol squat. From here, if you're game, you don't have to. So if you are in a one-legged mountain, you can come to a figure of four. If you're in a pistol squat, you can roll back, lift up to a one-legged bridge by lifting the hips up. If you're looking at me and you're going, that's fine, you can do it next time. And then roll forwards again, back to a pistol squat. Now, everyone is now going to join us in a warrior three. Oh, no, I didn't know. No, I'm not like, and my right ankle's just awful at the moment. Then high lunge. Warrior two. Reverse. Triangle. Soften the flow. And then we're going to turn forwards into a runner's lunge. Hands come to the mat to plank. Push all the way to downward facing dog. Left foot forwards into high lunge. However you get there, that's absolutely fine. Your choice, bring the right foot up into one-legged mountain, play with figure of four, or hands to the mat, sweep the right foot forwards, come into little pistol squat. Foot comes under. Roll back, come to one-legged bridge. A little bit more heat, bring the heel off the ground. All the way forwards, come back to a pistol squat. If you're in a figure of four, we're going to join you as we sweep the foot round and bring ourselves up into a warrior three, hands at the heart maybe. Draw yourself to high lunge. It's just a bit of fun. Over into warrior two. Reverse that warrior.
Push into triangle. Take a moment here in triangle. Turn forwards into runner's lunge. Bring the knees gently underneath you and come to child's pose again. Take a moment in child's pose. Well done. When you're in child's pose, might be wide-legged, might not, but you can just take a stretch, bring your hands to the side of the mat, one in front of the other. Keep the hips pushing away from you, down towards the heels. Put the towel between, so actually if you've got any knee issues, putting the rug behind your knees and sitting on it gives you really, and rolling that rug up gives you a nice little bit of height. Bring the block to your forehead, to the block will give you a much softer child's pose. That's it. Brilliant. Is that comfier? Then come out. If it's not comfy, come out of it. So come off the knees and bring yourself gently, feet in front of you. If it's not comfy, coming upright. So what I'm doing is I'm also giving, I'm aware of folk in the room who've, it's like DIY injury incidents, isn't it? It's kind of just, so just, if something's not comfy, move out of it. And actually, Corey's just come into an amazing pose there. We're going to do that, right? Find your blanket and bring yourself into Dandasana. Just take a moment with the legs. So if something in class is not good, and I say go into child's pose, and you're like, I'm not enjoying that, just do something different. You've all been, most of you have been with me enough to know that I won't bat an eyelid if you just kind of do your own thing. Not obviously randomly. It's like Vicky does a handstand and you're like, oh, that's cool. Allow your shoulders just to relax. Take a moment here. Really activate the legs, pushing the legs into the mat, drawing the toes towards you. Now you might want to just stay here. It might be comfy for you to come into a little Baddha Konasana. That might be quite a nice thing to do on the low back. It might not be so good on the knees. It's totally up to you. If you're looking at wanting an alternative, so I'm going to give you some things to wind down. Always come into a gentle twist if you want to, if that's where you are. And these twists, you can activate the leg or you can soften it, whatever's suiting. If you don't want to be in the twist, come into just a pose that is comfy for you. Moving to the other side when you're comfy. It might be a mixture of poses. And then we're going to come into reverse pigeon, but if you're not keen on coming down to your back, you can do this just by using the wall behind you and just bringing. So you might want this to be a supported pose and just bringing your knee across you if you want to keep upright. If you're happy on your back, coming all the way down to the mat, that's also fine, and bringing the leg across you. Now, if you're wanting this just to be a point at which to allow the spine just to lengthen, then keep the foot on the mat. If you want it to come into a little bind, you can then interlace behind the leg and take, that's it. So that's it. So what we're going to do, we just take the hands behind the leg and then draw that kind of knee towards us. So if you're drawing the knee towards you, what happens is the hip with the leg that is crossed will get an extra stretch. So you need to have a think about how that feels and what's comfy for you. swapping sides when you're ready. Might be keeping the pose upright, or you might be gently rolling here, might be still. And then wherever you are, you might be on your back coming into constructive rest pose, or you can support this with your forearms as well. Just allowing yourself a moment just to settle, maybe bringing the feet to either side of the mat, maybe the knees together, wherever is comfy. Again, moving into supine twist if you'd like. You might stack, or it might just be gentle, just allowing a little bit of movement in the hips, easing the lower back. Taking your time. Maybe knees come into the chest. And you might just roll the knees, but wherever you're comfy. Now we're moving towards a relaxation. So if you have blankets and eye pillows or socks, I think I might put my socks on. Get yourself comfy. If you're in a seated meditation and you want to soften the knees, then you can come into just a little deer pose. If you just want something a little bit softer. Just gently settling, taking a moment. Wherever you are, allowing the body just to settle. Feeling the body supported, whether that's through the spine, whether it's feeling the connection with the yoga mat. Allowing the body some ease, some sukha. Becoming aware of limbs that are relaxed, feeling slightly heavy. Maybe the breath is just starting to rise and fall. Being aware just of sounds beyond the yoga mat. Maybe there's a feeling, coolness of the air. Bringing that awareness back to your breath. Bringing awareness back to your fingertips. Awareness back to your toes. And then very gently, in your own time, turning onto your left-hand side. And just pausing. Allowing yourself gently to come back up to seated when you're ready. Bringing hands gently to the heart. Taking an inhale and exhale. And thank you very much for joining my class. And thank you for those online tonight. It's nice to see Anne and Nick and Mark. And I'll switch recording off and let you just gently slip away. Okay. And